Okay, f prime x is equals to 2x. We say 2x is the gradient of this function. Derivative is the gradient is the derivative. So you remember when we talked about the gradient of a curve that it contains x. So it means this thing is dependent on x. And what does it mean? It means that, say for an example, I want to know the gradient of a curve at that point. The gradient of a curve at this point will depend on what is the x value at this point. Surely enough, the gradient of a curve at this point will not be the same as the gradient of a curve at that point, because the x value at this point is not the same as the x value at that point. Surely the gradient of a curve at this point will depend on what is the x value at that point. So you can see that if I move, or as I move along the curve, the gradient of the curve changes. So now that is why the gradient of a curve is dependent on x. So now why does the issue of the average gradient get in? 2x is the gradient of the curve everywhere along the curve. Now, if I now want to calculate the gradient of a curve between 2 points, that is when I am going to introduce the term average gradient, because between, say for an example, this is point A and this is point B. As I move from point B to point A, the gradient would have changed many times. So now between point A and point B, there is no specific gradient that I can give to this area. All I can say, or all I can give between point A and point B, or all I can talk about between point A and point B, is the average gradient. So, say for an example, this is point C. Between point B and point C, surely enough, the gradient would have changed many times. There's no specific value which I can give as the gradient of the curve. All I can talk about between these 2 points, or at this area, I can talk about the average gradient. So how am I going to find the average gradient? I will simply remember that should I have had a line going through those 2 points, I could calculate the average gradient, or the gradient of that line. So the gradient of that line passing through those 2 points would be the average gradient of a curve between those 2 points. So basically we are saying the average gradient of a curve between 2 points is the gradient of a line which passes through those 2 points. So basically the average gradient of a curve between point B and point C is simply the gradient of BC. Okay, let me break it here. We'll take another look at the next video.